I always thought betrayal would feel like a sudden punch to the gut. Instead, it crept up slowly, wrapping around my throat like a silk scarf until I couldn't breathe. My name is Lila, and I was supposed to be picking out flower arrangements for my wedding to Ethan, the love of my life. But a migraine forced me to reschedule, and when I returned home, I found my sister Mia's car parked in our driveway. It was strange. She should have been at work. The front door was unlocked, and I heard giggling coming from upstairs, my bedroom. My feet felt heavy as I climbed each step, my heart already knowing what my mind refused to accept. "Lila, we should tell her soon," I heard Mia's voice drift through the crack in the door. "I know, baby, after the wedding." My hand trembled as I pushed the door open. There they were, Ethan and Mia tangled in my sheets, the same sheets Ethan and I had picked out together just last month. "Lila!" Mia scrambled to cover herself, but Ethan just sat there, frozen. "Oh God, this isn't," he stammered, his face pale. "What it looks like," I finished for him, my voice eerily calm. "You were going to tell me after the wedding." Mia's tears flowed as she confessed, "I'm 3 months pregnant." The room spun. 3 months while I had been planning our wedding, picking out china patterns and writing my vows. They had been planning their own future. "Get out," I whispered, my heart shattering into a million pieces. The days that followed were a blur of pain and disbelief. I couldn't wrap my head around what had just happened. My mother called constantly, leaving voicemails that grew increasingly frustrated. "Lila, you need to come home. Mia's devastated. She needs her sister right now." I finally answered on the 4th day, my voice cracking. "She needs me? Are you serious? She's the one who stole my fiancé." "Sweetheart, these things happen. Mia and Ethan are in love, and with the baby coming, you need to be there for her," my mother insisted, as if that made any sense. I showed up at the family dinner against my better judgment. The dining room felt suffocating, with Mia and Ethan sitting together, my mother hovering anxiously, and my father staring at his plate. "We're getting married next month," Mia announced, her hand protectively over her stomach. "A small ceremony, nothing fancy." My mother beamed. "Isn't it wonderful? You'll be an aunt, Lila." I stood up so quickly that my chair toppled backward. "Wonderful? My sister sleeps with my fiancé, gets pregnant, and that's wonderful?" "No, Mila," my father finally spoke. "What's done is done. We need to move forward as a family." "Family?" I scoffed. "Family protects each other. Family doesn't steal your happiness and expect you to celebrate their betrayal." Mia started crying again, her tears flowing freely. "Please, Lila, I love him. We love each other." I looked at them all. Mia's tears, Ethan's guilty face, my parents' pleading eyes. In that moment, something inside me hardened. They wanted me to forgive and forget, to play the supportive sister and daughter. Instead, I walked to the door, pausing only to say, "Congratulations on your perfect little family. I hope you're all very happy together." As I drove away, my phone buzzed with messages I wouldn't read. They thought this was the end. Poor Lila running away to lick her wounds. But they were wrong. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. I pulled into my best friend Ryan's driveway, my hand steady on the wheel for the first time in days. He opened the door before I could knock, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug. "I need your help," I whispered against his shoulder. "Anything," he replied, concern etched on his face. "I want to buy a house," I said, pulling back to meet his confused gaze. "Our dream house specifically, and I know exactly how to do it. 6 months can change everything." I sat in my boss's office, watching him review the quarterly reports I had prepared. "Lila, these numbers are exceptional," he said, his eyebrows rising higher with each page. "You've doubled your client portfolio since spring." I smiled, thinking of the sleepless nights and endless coffee runs that had gotten me here. "Thank you. I've been focused." "Focused is an understatement," he replied. "The board's noticed. There's talk of a promotion." My phone buzzed again. Another ignored text from Mia. I switched it to silent without looking. Speaking of focus, Ryan leaned forward. How's the house hunting going? Actually, I'm closing on a property next week, I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. The Victorian on Maple Grove? He asked, surprised. That's the one, I confirmed. Ryan whistled. That's quite a purchase for a first-time buyer. You sure about this? More than anything, I replied, feeling a sense of determination wash over me. After work, I met Ryan at our usual coffee shop. He was already there, laptop open, real estate documents spread across the table. The sellers accepted your offer, he said without preamble. But there's something else. He turned his laptop toward me. On the screen was Mia's social media post. Can't wait to start our new chapter. Dream home, baby on the way. Below was a photo of her and Ethan in front of the same Victorian house I was about to own. They don't know, I said, sipping my coffee. They think they're getting it. Are you absolutely sure about this? Ryan asked, concern in his voice. Once I sign those papers, they're meeting the realtor tomorrow to make their offer. An offer they can't afford, by the way. I've seen Ethan's financials. Invigorated. How did you? Denise in accounting owed me a favor, I replied, a smirk creeping onto my face. Ryan ran a hand through his hair. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Almost, I said, pulling out my phone to show him the invitation I had just received. Mia's having a housewarming party next month for a house she doesn't own yet. The next week passed in a blur of signatures and legal documents. I sat in my lawyer's office, pen hovering over the final paper. Once you sign, she said, the house is yours. All renovations and modifications will be at your discretion. I signed, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Walking out, I bumped into Denise from work. Hey, I was just heading to your office. Did you hear about Mia and Ethan? My stomach tightened. What about them? Their loan application was denied. They're devastated. Mia's been crying all over Facebook about losing their dream home. I forced a sympathetic frown. That's terrible. I know. And with the baby coming... Denise lowered her voice. Your mom called the office looking for you. She said Mia really needs her sister right now. I'm sure she does, I replied, my heart hardening. Back at my desk, I opened my email to find the contractor quote for renovations. The amount would barely dent my savings. Unlike Mia and Ethan, I had been smart with my money. My phone lit up with a text from Eliana. Family dinner tonight. Please come. They're announcing the baby's gender. I typed back, can't. Working late. You can't avoid them forever, she replied. Watch me, I said, a smile creeping onto my face. That evening I stood in front of my new house. My house. The porch needed work, the paint was peeling, but it was mine, all mine. Ryan pulled up in his car. Thought I'd find you here, just imagining the possibilities. Want to see inside? I asked, excitement bubbling up. We walked through the empty rooms that echoed with our footsteps. Mia and Ethan had planned their whole future here. The nursery upstairs, the kitchen remodel, the garden parties. When are you telling them? Ryan asked, glancing around. Soon, I replied, walking to the bay window, the one Mia had gushed about on social media. They're having a girl, you know, Ryan said, looking at me. Found out today. I pressed my hand against the cool glass. Don't make me feel guilty about this. They didn't feel guilty about what they did to me. My phone buzzed again. This time I looked. It was Mia's housewarming invitation, sent to the entire family group chat. Join us in celebrating our new home. Can't wait to share this special moment with everyone we love. Ryan read over my shoulder. She still doesn't know. No, I smiled, remembering the renovation schedule I'd just approved. But she will very soon. The next week I sat in the contractor's office, going over the renovation plans. We've gutted the master bedroom and nursery as requested, he said, checking his clipboard. The new fixtures arrive tomorrow. I ran my hand along the exposed beams, feeling a sense of satisfaction. Perfect. Meanwhile, Mia was busy posting updates on social media about her new life with Ethan. I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. "Lila, you're different lately," Denise said over lunch one day, studying me. Calmer, almost scary calm. I stirred my salad, watching the lettuce leaves swirl like tiny green boats. "I'm just focused on work." "Please, you're plotting something." She leaned closer, her eyes wide with curiosity. Before I could respond, Mia walked into the restaurant, her baby bump now obvious under her flowing dress. I ducked behind my menu, but it was too late. "Huh, Lila." She waddled over, Ethan trailing behind her. "I've been trying to reach you for weeks." "I've been busy." I kept my voice light, professional. "Congratulations on the gender reveal. You'd know more if you'd come to family dinners," Mia said, pulling up a chair uninvited. "We miss you," Ethan added awkwardly. "Sorry, I have a meeting," I said, gathering my things. "Wait, the housewarming party. You're coming, right? We found another house, even better than the Victorian." "Everything happens for a reason, you know," Mia said, her eyes shining with hope. "Does it?" I met her gaze, feeling a surge of defiance. "Of course, like me and Ethan. Sometimes the universe knows better than we do." Denise choked on her water and I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Well, I wouldn't miss your housewarming for anything." Outside, Denise caught up with me. "Okay, what was that? You looked like you were about to either cry or commit murder." "Neither," I replied, checking my phone. I had just received an email from the contractors confirming next week's start date. "I'm just giving the universe a little help," I said, a smirk on my face. As the renovations progressed, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. But then, one day, I overheard Ryan talking to Ethan. "He's in trouble, Lila. Big trouble." "What kind of trouble?" I asked, my heart racing. "Gambling debts. He's been betting on sports games, losing big. That's why they couldn't get the house loan." "Does Mia know?" I asked, feeling a pang of guilt. "Oh, he's telling everyone they chose a different house because it's better for the baby," Ryan said, running a hand through his hair. "These changes things, right?" "Changes what?" I replied, my resolve hardening. "They're already suffering. Maybe that's enough." I thought about my mother's voice messages, all about how Mia needed support, how blessed they were, how I needed to move on. That night, I drove past their current apartment. The lights were on, shadows moving behind curtains. They looked happy, normal, like they hadn't destroyed someone else's life to build their own. My phone rang. It was Eliana. "Before you say no, hear me out. Family brunch Sunday, just you and me, and, okay, yes, Mia and your mom will be there, but so will I," running interference. "I hate being stuck between everyone," I sighed. "Fine," I finally relented. Sunday arrived too quickly. I walked into the cafe to find Mia already crying. "These hormones," she sniffled as I sat down. "I'm just so happy you came." My mother beamed. "See, this is what family does. We come together." Eliana caught my eye and mouthed, "Sorry." Mia wiped her eyes. "The new house is perfect. The owners accepted our offer right away." "When do you move in?" I asked, knowing the answer. 3 weeks, just in time to set up the nursery before I get too big." She pulled out her phone. "Want to see the photos? The previous owners are doing some renovations before we move in." I looked at the pictures. My house, my renovation. "Lovely," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "We're thinking of calling her Lila," Mia said suddenly, her eyes bright. "After you, to show there are no hard feelings." The cafe went silent. Even my mother looked uncomfortable. "No," I said quietly. "You don't get to do that. You don't get to steal my life and then name your baby after me like it makes everything okay." Mia's lower lip trembled. "I thought you'd be honored." I stood up, my chair scraping loudly. "You want to honor me? Try not sleeping with my fiancé next time." "Lila," my mother hissed, "people are staring." "Let them stare," I said, grabbing my purse. "I'm done pretending everything's fine." Eliana followed me outside. That was intense. It's about to get more intense, I said, showing her the contractor's schedule on my phone. They start tomorrow. The renovation that Mia thinks the sellers are doing? Exactly, I replied, feeling a sense of power wash over me. The next morning I arrived at work to find Denise waiting at my desk. You will not believe what I just heard. Try me, I said, intrigued. Ethan's been embezzling from the company, small amounts, but it adds up. He thought he could gamble it back before anyone noticed. I walked to the break room, timing it perfectly to refill my cup as Ethan packed his personal items into a cardboard box. Our eyes met across the room. Happy no? He asked quietly. Not yet, I replied, feeling a sense of satisfaction. I know you're behind this somehow. He stepped closer. The house, the contractors, the audit that caught the missing money? Prove it. His hands clenched around the box. I loved you once, you know. No, I corrected him. You loved what I could give you. Stability, status, a future. Then Mia offered something more exciting. He opened his mouth to respond, but security arrived before he could. They escorted him out, and I watched from my window as he loaded his box into his car. Then I pulled out my phone to check the contractor's latest update. The Victorian was transforming daily. Gone were the vintage details Mia had swooned over, replaced by modern fixtures and stark colors. Ryan texted me. Saw Ethan being escorted out, you okay? Better than okay, I replied, a smile creeping onto my face. Coming to see the house later? Someone should witness your descent into supervillainy. That evening, Ryan walked through the renovation with me, shaking his head at each change. You're really going scorched earth with this. They wanted their dream home, I said, feeling empowered. I showed him the plans for the industrial-style kitchen replacing Mia's hoped-for farmhouse design. Speaking of changes, Ryan pulled out his phone, showing me Mia's latest social media post, a tearful announcement about postponing the housewarming due to unforeseen circumstances. Unforeseen? I scoffed. She should have seen everything coming the moment she decided to sleep with my fiancé. As the bulldozer rolled up the driveway, I watched from my bedroom window, my heart racing. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since dawn. First Ryan, then Eliana, and finally my mother. Please don't do anything foolish today, she had texted. At exactly noon, cars began arriving. I recognized them all, family, friends, colleagues. Mia had invited everyone to witness her perfect life. Ryan stood beside me, his expression a mix of excitement and concern. Are you sure about this? I straightened my blazer and grabbed the envelope from my desk. Time to crash a party. We walked across the street just as Mia was welcoming guests on the front porch. She froze when she saw me. You're not supposed to be here, she said, panic in her voice. Actually, I smiled. You're not supposed to be here. The bulldozer engine roared to life, and Mia's face drained of color as it approached the pristine front lawn. What's happening? She cried, turning to my mother. My mother pushed through the crowd, her face pale. Lila, what have you done? I pulled the papers from my envelope. I'm renovating my property. Ethan appeared, looking haggard. What do you mean, your property? She bought it months ago, Ryan said, his voice carrying across the suddenly silent gathering. Mia swayed on her feet. But we signed the papers yesterday. Show me, I challenged, holding out my hand. Ethan stepped forward. I have them right here. No, Mia interrupted, her voice rising. You said you had them, but I never saw them. I never actually signed anything, did I? The bulldozer inched closer to the freshly planted garden. Did you lie about the papers too? Mia asked, her voice trembling. Ethan backed away, panic in his eyes. I can explain. Explain what? I interjected. I handed you the eviction notice. You did this to yourself just like you did this to her. Mia stared at the paper, tears streaming down her face. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem, I said, turning to leave. Oh, and Mia, I called back. Don't name your baby after me. She deserves better than that. As I walked away, whispers followed in my wake. I heard my mother calling my name, heard Mia's sobs, and felt a sense of closure wash over me. The bulldozer began its work, and I felt lighter than I had in months. The demolition dust had barely settled when Ryan found me sitting on my front porch, watching the sun set behind the partially destroyed Victorian. "Everyone's looking for you," he said, settling beside me. "Let them look," I replied, sipping my coffee. "Ethan's being held without bail. Mia's at the hospital." Stress triggered early contractions. The coffee burned my tongue, but I welcomed the pain. It felt real, grounding. "Did you know," I said, "that I used to imagine my whole life in this house? Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, kids running up and down those stairs." "And now?" Ryan asked gently. "Now I'm going to sell it as is." I gestured at the demolished garden, the exposed beams, the chaos I'd created. Let someone else build something new from the wreckage. My phone lit up, my mother calling again. This time I answered. "Where are you?" she demanded. "Home," I replied quietly. "This isn't funny, Lila. Your sister needs you." "No," I said firmly. "She doesn't, and neither do you." I hung up as Ryan's car pulled into the driveway. He carried a box of my old photos, the ones I'd left at my parents' house. "Your mom dropped these off at my place," he said, handing them to me. "Think she was hoping to find you there." I pulled out a photo of Mia and Mia's kids, matching Halloween costumes. We used to be inseparable. "People change," I said softly. "No," I crumpled the photo. "People reveal who they really are." Eliana's phone buzzed and she read the message. Then she looked at me carefully. "Mia lost the baby." The words hung in the air like the demolition dust. I waited to feel satisfaction, victory, something. Instead, I felt hollow. "Layla," Ryan touched my arm, "talk to us." I wanted them to hurt like I hurt. I stared at the ruined house, but this isn't what I wanted. "What did you want?" Ryan asked gently. "I don't know anymore," I admitted, feeling lost. Headlights swept across the lawn as another car approached. Mia stepped out, looking pale and small in her hospital gown. "You shouldn't be here," Eliana started, but Mia held up a hand. "I need to say something," she said, her voice trembling. I stood facing my sister across the debris-strewn yard. She looked at the destruction around us, then back at me. "I deserved this," she said softly. "All of it. I destroyed your life because I was jealous. You had everything. The perfect fiancé, the perfect future. I wanted to prove I could take it all away." "Mia," I started, but she held up her hand. "Let me finish. I told myself it was love, that Ethan and I were meant to be, but really I just wanted to win, to be the sister everyone chose for once." "No," I shook my head. "They needed to take care of you because you were a mess. But I was the strong one, the successful one, the one they were proud of." Mia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I lost everything today. Ethan, the baby, our parents' trust. But the worst part? I lost you long before that." As the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt a shift within me. "I can't forgive you," I said finally. "I know," she replied, her voice breaking. "But I don't want to hate you anymore." She nodded, and I watched her turn to leave. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "I'm sorry. Not because I got caught or because everything fell apart, but because I broke something that can never be fixed." I watched her drive away, then turned to Ryan and Eliana. "Call the contractor," I said, my voice steady. "Tell him to stop the demolition." "Are you keeping the house?" Ryan asked, surprised. "No," I said, taking one last look at the Victorian. "My dream home, my instrument of revenge, my prison of bitterness. I'm going to restore it, not for them, not for revenge, but for me. Then I'm selling it and moving somewhere new." "Running away?" Eliana asked, her brow furrowed. No, I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. Moving forward, because sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's rebuilding yourself from the ruins others left behind.